Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet?
I love people as I meet them one by one. People are just wonderful as individuals. You see the whole...
My great aspiration, my greatest ambition is to be so good. Now, in that way, I'm tiresome, as I suppose, to live with, because I want to be a fantastic human being.
I am the greatest. We're not disputing that, Cassius, but how does Sonny Liston feel about it? He can't feel but one way, and let's take everything I say and like it. Because February the 25th, I'm going to take back my job. I'm the champ. He's no champ. He's a tramp.
When you see men fall, don't laugh. Learn. Learn. Because you're on your way up. And the things that tempt people to fall, you and I are not free from that temptation.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, maybe rip bones. But no matter how close I am, my ancestors speak. They tell me they're tired of the run on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed. Begging the generations remember our story.
Yo. Good morning. Hold on. There we go. That's what I want to see right there. How's everybody doing today? Blessings to everybody. Happy Tuesday? Yes, Tuesday. I hope you're still doing great moving into this week. Shout out to my poets, my writers, my content creators, and so on and so forth. You see the title? You know why we are here. Got a clip I'm going to bring up on the big screen. And I would like to just, do what I typically do. Share my 2 cents. This shit is crazy. I have my reservations. Let me do this real quick, though. Let me slide over to the big screen real quick. We'll bring this up. And we will go from there. It's not a very long one. It's like 32, 35 seconds. More than enough to give you some context. Y'all getting out of hand with y'all feelings, like extremely sensitive. That's cool. But it's not cool. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. Hold on. Bada bing, bada boom. Let me get back over to my angle I like to over here on this side. All right. So I'm gonna let this run all the way through. I'm gonna share my thoughts, and we'll proceed from there. Ice Cube's tour bus gets bombed. Wow, right? Of all people, I was not expecting to hear those two words form a sentence. But I digress. Let me go ahead and run this footage real quick.
Weird ass Portland news. Ice Cube's tour bus was just firebombed on the streets of Portland. For why, dude? Like, it's Cube, bruh. God, Oregon is so embarrassing. Now, I have no idea why this hasn't hit bigger news yet, because this seems like the type of thing that's newsworthy. I know that the police definitely aren't going to take this seriously because they literally don't give a fuck about people in Portland. But if Oregon could just act normal for like one day, I would really appreciate it. So in breaking...
Yeah. So from what I'm understanding, this was a misunderstanding. They assumed that this was ice, not Ice Cube, but literally ice. Allegedly. I don't know if they went on the internet and grabbed some ingredients, how to build a Molotov bomb or whatever. I don't know what was the driving force behind this, but that is crazy. That is absolutely fucking nuts. I understand if this is the case, you got an issue with elite people being uprooted from their homes. You got an issue with people illegally moving file. You got an issue with people pretending to be something that they're not. I get that. This right here, I don't understand. I don't expect to leave out my house, go downtown, and the bus blows up. I'm not expecting a car to drive into hundreds of people, killing them. I'm not expecting to see people in rage just go on a rampage and just start to shoot and kill people because they don't like the politics that's being practiced. They don't like the fact that there's things that's going on that they don't have no control over. We don't have a lot of control over a lot of things. What we do have control over is our feelings and how we decide to deal with injustices. Imagine if somebody was on this bus. Y'all don't care about that though, huh? You thought this was making a statement. Did you think by blowing up and destroying someone's property, you were accomplishing something? Exactly. This really doesn't serve anybody any good whatsoever. It's absolutely ridiculous. But my question is, have we gotten that bad? Has it gotten so severe? Is hope that far gone that people are like this desperate to do this in order to get the attention? Because nothing else is working. Our protesters aren't working. Our calling the mayor's office isn't working. Our letters aren't working. So what do you expect? Nobody's listening to us. No one's taking us serious. All our efforts are for naught. You're going out of your way to censor us. What else can we do to get y'all attention, to make y'all say, look, oh, this is real. Our people are hurting. They're angry, and they're really not happy with us. Let's go ahead and address them. We care about our citizens. How isn't this a thing? No, this is only going to get worse. People are entitled. They're entitled. They have lack of, they don't have no control. Everything seems to be just getting more and more out of control because to be so angry that you would literally set a tour bus on fire. I know they gotta be cameras around. I've never been to Oregon. I don't know what the environment is like there, but come on, man. I need to know if this was about Ice Cube or was this really about ICE? The funny thing about this is, which is not really funny, is the lack of coverage on it. Because nobody is talking about it. I haven't seen a single soul on social media speak about it once. That is crazy. It's not like he's a regular person. So that's another reason why I'm like, hold up. This is Ice Cube. Why wouldn't people talk about this shit? Why isn't this getting the visibility that it should? What if he was on the bus? I'm guessing they wouldn't care either. I don't know if I've ever come across anything involving politics that hasn't done nothing but more damage than good. It seemed like every time I see anything that surrounds itself with the leftist, rightist, Republican, Democrat shit. It's always a bunch of angry people mad at somebody for being angry for being angry. I like the shit just sounds all dumb. Hold on a second. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Hopefully nobody was hurt or injured from the reports. From what I've seen so far, nobody was hurt or injured. But that's not even like that aside. The very fact that you even took it this far. So what's to say this doesn't happen again? And again. And again, and again, and again, and again. Yo. Oh. Yeah, your audio's got you sounding like a chipmunk right now. Hold up.
Come on, turn off Bluetooth.
Check.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I have my headphones on. I know one of the things you asked was if everyone was okay. I'm pretty sure from the report they said everyone was sleeping upstairs in the hotel. So nobody was injured. And it technically wasn't even his bus. It was like a replacement bus because his original bus was being repaired in a different location. So the speculation that I've heard is it was ICE related too, because it was either they thought it was an ICE bus or I've also heard the theory that it was ICE itself that did that. I haven't heard enough about the information about the explosion itself for me to kind of go on one side or the other, because this could technically have been technical difficulties, even though I don't think it is. It could have been like just the bus itself, but I think it's also incredibly suspicious that the bus just happened to catch on fire in the middle of the night in Portland right after all of this is starting to happen in Portland, especially because I'm pretty sure, I forgot the exact name of this tour, but it was very much a message for Americans about what's happening. So I would not put it past people to do something like that, especially with what we're seeing in every aspect of the community right now. Mass shootings all over for all sorts of different reasons, but primarily by individuals that probably wouldn't like him because of who he is, and his skin color, and all that fun stuff. So I can't quite say for sure if I think it was an actual attack. I highly suspect that it was.
I don't think nothing's without probable cause behind it. You know, very intentional. I don't like it because you can't take. I understand taking matters into your own hands, but not at the expense at putting people's life in danger because of it. Like you can be mad all you want. I can't remember what country this is, but they burnt up the whole government's. I'm gonna have to look that one up. It's like it's not Beijing, but it's like Bangladesh or something. And they set the whole what's name on fire. Like they really snapped out there. Like they sick and tired of being sick and tired. I don't see nobody talking about that.
It was Nepal.
No. Right.
And they were successful. They ousted most of their government officials that were deemed corrupt, and they actually won. This is one of my favorite examples or recent examples of why the people work. Like we, the people, have the power. It's just right now we have an administration that's trying to convince us that we don't have the right to that power. So we have to use examples like Nepal to show us what we can do to get our power back.
The way we moving up here, if I don't even want to say that but like it don't seem like they paying much attention to the people. The ones that are saying something, they got an issue with it. How bad is this going to get? Because this ain't going to be the last incident. This happened in California,
Oregon, because they're in Portland. I think his car was in Oakland, though. I mean,
no, I'm referring to the situation where the people was jumping out their cars and yeah, so it's like what do we do with that? Like, it's not going to stop here because there's a bunch of people out here that's. It's hard for me. It's hard for me sometimes to get my words. I'm like, some of these people are just dumbasses, man. Like a dude hopped on a boat in North Carolina and aired out a restaurant. And then there was another one where a guy set a church on fire, drove the car into the church, and then killed people. What's wrong with y'all? Like, what's really going on in y'all head?
One thing I found interesting this morning, I think it was David Pakman. He was discussing the 4 mass shootings that we had yesterday. And out of those 4, 3 out of the 4 of them were brain injured veterans that fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. One of them was even shot in the head when he was overseas. And all 3 of them have TBI, which is traumatic brain injury. And people who have a TBI are far more likely to commit violence because of how it affects the brain and how the brain kind of connects with itself. And so when you have those brain injuries, you're far more likely to commit acts of violence and commit criminal acts and have dysfunctional thinking. That's why you see a lot of that behavior from fighters who have been, or football players who have been subjected to massive amount of trauma over time. And I've noticed that where a lot of these individuals that perpetrate these crimes are veterans, they're people that have been disenfranchised by this government. They're angry people. Like, these types of events are by citizens that feel like they've been abandoned. I mean, the same thing could be said if that kid is really who shot Kirk. He also had that sensation where he felt like he didn't have a future. There was no life for him. And this is something that I've been noticing time and time again with all of these people that are committing these crimes, is they feel like that's their only option left to make a point about the things that are affecting their lives significantly. So obviously we don't know if anyone did this or if it was mechanical. But if somebody did do this, it wouldn't surprise me as well if they were one of those like disenfranchised, I need to make a statement type individuals. I also wouldn't put it past the person, the potential perpetrator, to be racist as well, or far right leaning perhaps. I saw, I don't know if this is true or not, but I saw in an article that somebody wrote on the side of the vehicle, where they basically said like, I hate Ice, or Ice Cube or something like that. I can't find where I saw it originally. But it could potentially just be against him personally and not related to any political affiliation at all. Like, we never know. Because, like, famous people always have enemies. They always have like obsessive followers that are upset that the person didn't give them any credence or something. So because he's a celebrity, I think it might be, unless we find concrete evidence like videos and stuff like that, it might be harder to determine the motive behind it. And it's, I wouldn't say less likely, but it's equally likely that it's not politically related. I've seen articles trying to say that it was like Antifa, but I think that's kind of ridiculous as well. Because why would they want to do that? And when they're already being like criminalized for no reason, and technically like Antifa isn't even an organization. It's just people that are anti-fascist. So why would they particularly go after him? So yeah, it's so early that it's hard to tell. But again, with the rise of violence, I would not be surprised if it did end up being politically motivated in some manner.
Don't you just love when a plan comes together? It's not my plan though. I didn't plan for it. I didn't, like, that's not my thing. I'm not really set out to cause mayhem and chaos amongst the public. I want y'all to treat the people better. Stop playing with us. Stop playing with our livelihoods and our finances and how we eat. Stop doing stupid shit to the people who are keeping you rich. I'm not about to sit out here and tag nobody with C4 and chloroform motherfuckers and then hold them hostage and then go on national TV asking, for people to, you must do this or I will blow up the White House. Like, folks be having real life pinky in the brain mindsets. Y'all gotta stop, man.
So apparently on the side of his tour bus, it said, Ice Cube, everything's corrupt. And the tour was Truth to Power. So I could see why that might trigger someone. Who knows if it did, but I could see it.
I guess in that regard, it doesn't really make a difference if you are well known or not. Like if you, I think, let me rephrase that. Rewind. If you have a platform and a voice and people care about what you say, you're a target. If they don't know you, they don't care. Straight up. I'm glad nobody was hurt. I think this could have been handled better. I would hope and pray that people get some common sense. You going to destroy someone's property is not going to make things better. Threatening people's life is not going to make things change. There was a scene in X-Men Futures Past where they had to go back to stop the Doctor from creating a robot that was designed to track mutants. But they had to kill him, and they had to kill Mystique, because Mystique was the one who had the genetic code to help them create the robot. My point is, death is not the way. Violence is not the answer. Whether or not you want them to be the martyr or what, it's not going to help. It's only going to piss people off and reestablish their already paranoid assumptions that this is why we need to implement this and this is why we need to do that, because look at what they're doing. They're animals. They must be stopped. See, everything that we said was right. Why? Because they can't control themselves.
Looking at his bus, I definitely no longer believe the narrative that people thought it was an ice bus, because it's literally like half the bus, giant font, Ice Cube. And then if you look at what the ice bus looks like, it literally has like the emblem of the United States and the Homeland Security logo. Like, unless you could not read or something like that and just knew what the word ice looked like, there's no way that somebody, even at night, couldn't tell that that was Ice Cube's party bus and not, or tour bus, and not a government vehicle. That font is way too bold for me to think that that's Antifa mistaking that for an ice bus. I strongly believe that narrative is pushed by the government wanting us to villainize Antifa or villainize Democrats further. I'm not Antifa is not even really a thing. It's just a belief system.
That's next level trolling right there. You going that far to create a message? Ice Cube does speak out on a lot of stuff that isn't really popular or favorable in the eyes of the public. So I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm not really familiar with Oregon, but just even hearing the name Oregon, I know, no, they in Colorado. I'm not sure if that's one of those sundown places. All right.
Berlin is very much like San Francisco in the liberalness of that area. Most of the red parts of Oregon are like the rural tiny towns. But most of the big cities are, generally across the country, big cities are largely Democratic and small towns are largely Republican, because when it has a lot to do with the age demographics of the makeup of those cities, because in cities you have a higher density of young people, students, parents, and working professionals. Whereas towns have a much higher percentage of retirees and low-income individuals that rely on government subsidies. So cities, and that's why you see red states, or like that's why you see blue states being like the New England states, California, Seattle, Oregon, because we have a lot of big cities in our areas. So you go somewhere like Kansas and Oklahoma and Wyoming, you have cities, and even the big cities that we do have are very, very small in comparison to something like Los Angeles or Seattle. So that's a huge component to that, like that demographic makeup contributes to why we have those types of belief systems dominating in those different regions. So Portland itself would be far more blue, but in California, in Washington, in Oregon, who are highly democratic locations, we still have our red areas. Like even here where I live, if we, like my husband and I like to go to parks out in SoCal, and when you drive out to those regions, you see MAGA flags everywhere. You see Trump flags everywhere. And even we are not immune from having these individuals in our areas. So yeah, they were definitely in a more liberal area, but I mean, there's still those satellite towns. I don't know which part of Portland they were in. Maybe they were closer to a certain section of town. Sometimes the inner city can also feature some of those types of people sometimes. But yeah, they're definitely more in a blue area, but you never know.
I'm glad I brought this up because I wanted to know, was this really about him or was this about something else? You know, because there's always a subliminal behind all of these things. But now that you brought up some points, I'm more inclined to believe that this has nothing to do with ICE. But you scroll and scroll and scroll on TikTok, everybody is saying this is about ICE, this is about Antifa, et cetera, et cetera. That's why you.
Even with Charlie Kirk's murder, if it was actually that kid, he had a personal, I wouldn't call it vendetta, but a personal hatred towards Kirk specifically. It wasn't because of Kirk's belief system. Like, it wasn't because he was more red. It was because of something specifically that he said that did not resonate with that person. And so even if we want to claim like, oh yeah, Kirk was super divisive and people didn't like him for his viewpoints, he had a lot of people that were not interested in having him broadcast his ideas, there's still the fact that despite how all of us think about him, it's still the one mind that did that. And he is not obviously thinking the same way that every person in the United States is thinking. And if he had a personal issue with that person, he doesn't care about his political affiliation. He's honing in on that one single point. And I could 100% see that happening with a celebrity, especially with somebody that writes lyrics and creates music that is putting ideas out there that some people might disagree with. Especially because the type of genre he's in is usually created to generate attention to certain ideas and to kind of like push and get people to think in different ways than they had been, like to reveal things. I know of a lot of different rap artists that talk about poverty, talk about education, talk about violence, and what's happening in politics. Like there's so many different issues that they can target within their music that I could also see that being a trigger as well, and having nothing to do with this government. But that being said, this government, this atmosphere that our country is currently existing in, allows this type of stuff to fester more easily because number one, we have a dramatic reduction of mental health services for individuals that desperately need it at a time that we've already not had enough, and now we're decreasing it even more. We have decreases in healthcare for individuals. We're having people lose their jobs en masse. We're having people be exposed to all of this violence and be afraid for their lives because they might be a certain group of people that is being persecuted. And that paves the way for people to act more violently because instead of us being in a world where we can speak our mind and use that to get what we need, we now are like, oh, this stuff isn't working anymore. We have to turn to drastic measures. And it could very well be somebody that felt like they had no other option to express themselves other than committing violence. One of the things that I just read in the article was it said that the fire was limited to the front tire. That kind of makes me think that it probably was set because I know, at least not as a professional, obviously, but just from what I've seen, like in previous fires and stuff, like people will put it like under the wheel well to start a fire. And I feel like if it was mechanical, it would probably start on the hood of the car. So I do find that kind of interesting that it was just one wheel well on one side of the car. And to me, that kind of indicates that it was probably intentionally set. But again, I'm no expert. I'm not in forensic anything. So that's more hearsay. But yeah, we live right now in an environment that is encouraging this type of violent exposure and violent action. So yeah. You're muted.
Yeah, I just saw it pop up on the top of my screen. Depending on how you use social media, it can go one or two ways. Either you're going to promote the facts and stand on it, or you're going to promote the lie and stand on it. And most people are promoting the lie, but they want it to look like it's the truth so that you follow under this guise that the world is coming to an end, everybody hates each other. Suit up, get your guns, get your bow and arrows, start boarding up everything. It's about to be World War III, and it's actually not our fault, but it's our fault.
We also have to be careful going into the future with how we interpret what the media is putting out, because we are living in a time now that censorship is going to be a huge component of the type of media that's coming out to us. And we kind of have to start taking what like ABC and NBC and all of those people are saying, because they are going to be actively prevented from saying certain information. They might withhold information. And so we kind of have to take what they say with a grain of salt and do the research ourselves. Like, we can't just take headlines at face value anymore. We have to start digging and looking into the videos, looking into the pictures, looking into the accounts ourselves to make sure that the things that they're telling us aren't completely fabricated. Because we are living in a time when they are trying to create stories about vulnerable populations in the hopes that we'll immediately turn around and be like, oh yeah, we don't like these people, let's kill them or deport them or send them off to some camp. Like they're actively trying to come after the LGBT community, certain ethnic groups, coming after women, taking their rights. A very divisive and cruel regime, and it's very, very important to pay attention, because the thing that it's important to keep our wits about us and make sure that we are our
Oh, she froze up. She must be in a bad area. Oh, you're back.
Did you hear all that, or did it get cut off?
The last 10 seconds I didn't.
Okay, I was basically, my gist is like, we have to make sure that we're using our logic, that we're paying attention to what's going on around us and not just give in to the hearsay, because that's what they want from us. They want us to ignore the information, to just assume that these groups of people are immediately the people that we should go after. We have to start understanding that they lie too. Just because they're an authority figure does not mean they're telling us the truth and they have our best interest at heart. And yeah, so investigate things without parroting just random information. That's a huge problem with Twitter, is people just like see it, repost, and they don't fact check. They don't make sure that what they're sending to people is genuine and real. And there's a lot of information out there that is completely false, completely fabricated just for views. So yeah, it's really important to keep our wits about us and make sure that we're, again, using our brains when we're approaching all of these topics happening in the world.
Couldn't have said it any better. And I'm mindful of that every time I open up these applications. I will leave a post and then I will go check and double check, because I want to make sure before I start. No, not about to get me like that. Right now, there's a story, the case with Celeste and David. They still spreading false information on TikTok and Instagram about that. You know, so it's like, you're not going to know who's telling you the truth until you actually get the truth. And then at that point, you don't even know if you got to hear from the parents. Like, you literally got to hear from the people who lost ultimately in the whole situation. Hear from their mouth first. Because everybody on social media, they're just there to capitalize off of the drama. You was about to say something?
Oh, I was going to say, from like a researcher perspective, for God's sake, TikTok is not a reliable source. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen people talk about climate change, politics, all sorts of scientific arenas, and they use TikTok videos as evidence for what they're talking about. And I cannot emphasize more, TikTok is not a reliable source. Instagram is not a reliable source. YouTube, arguably, if you are actually making sure this person has credentials, and it, like, there are professors, there are professionals on there that are actually good people, like they're promoting good information, but you have to do the background check. Like, there was somebody that I even followed that I loved her talks about volcanism and earthquakes, And I found out she doesn't live in Iceland. She doesn't have a degree. She never did anything with volcanology. And she's just promoting these clickbait titles just to scare people into viewing her videos about volcanoes, and then nothing ever happens. And it's like, you have to do the vetting process to make sure the person that you're taking this information from is actually reliable. This is something that college students have to learn. You have to learn like what source is considered reliable, like going to scientific websites, going to like research-based organizations and stuff like that. And some of them can even have their own biases. It's important. That's why it's also important to look at multiple different sources, because, or many, many different sources, because then it allows you to compare the information back and forth, see where the discrepancies are, see what they have in common, and investigate the biases of those people that you're looking at. Like, we all know that certain news sources are more right-leaning or left-leaning. We all know some organizations are funded by certain think tanks and groups and businesses. So we really have to make sure that we know where that information is coming from and whether or not they have our best interest at heart. Because especially with the internet now, most people on the internet many of them are very well-minded. Like, they want the best for us. They want to put that information out there in good faith. But most people on the internet want views. They're saying what they say so they can gather as much viewership as they possibly can. And you have to keep that in mind, because that can lead people to say things that aren't true, or that are exaggerated, or are a little bit fear-mongering, because they want to make sure that they're just dramatic enough to get into the algorithm. And then also the algorithm itself can stifle points of view, because the search engines themselves are biased. That will promote certain issues over others. They'll mask certain issues over others. So you sometimes have to do a lot of digging just to find out what the truth is and go beyond. Like, I cannot tell you how frustrating it is when I read these articles from like I've stopped looking at main news sources, because they often have the same exact information. Most of these companies are all owned by the same big umbrella company. And so they're all technically just promoting the same information, just repackaged to make it look like they're different. So we have to keep that in mind, that we really, really have to look at our sources and where we get this information from, because it's damaging us and our relationship with our country with all of this fake news out there and propagandized stuff and all kinds of crap that the internet holds. Because one, it's a distraction from what's really important, but two, it can make us wildly like off track in what our beliefs are in the world. Like, we're seeing an explosion in people that are like believing in these science conspiracies and aliens made pyramid type people. So yeah, we really have to be cognizant of where we take our information, and we don't just, oh, I watched one YouTube video, oh, I watched one TikTok, and then send it to 1,000 people and say like, this is true. You have to make sure it is first. And again, TikTok is not a resource.
I agree. 1,000%. It's good for conversation, but the conversation doesn't really go very far if you don't have the proper information to go along with the story or the subject itself. Like, I'll take a topic. It won't even necessarily be about the video per se. It'll be about the characteristics in which is being discussed on display within the videos, depending on what it is. I don't play around with that stuff. I won't even post it. I won't even speak on it if I don't know what I'm talking about. That's why, like, I always give a shout out to you and Jason and Rob and people like that, because I definitely excel in areas that I'm not very versed in. So, just for future reference to the people, she know what she's talking about.
For any new viewers, I have my bachelor's in psychology and my master's in environmental education. And while not in the same arena, I focus a lot on science. But I study misinformation. That was my topic for my master's dissertation. I was examining the perspectives of climate change and how people's mindsets are impacted by the type of media that they're consuming. And this applies to a bunch of different areas. It's not just within climate change, it's in everything, in politics and even celebrity, like gossip. I mean, we all know how readily gossip takes off. Like, people hear somebody dies or somebody breaks up or somebody like crashes their car, and like within minutes of the video entering the internet, it's everywhere. Everyone knows in every corner of the world. They all know who did what. And sometimes it's not even true. They just like manufacture the story, and then it's before the person that it's about even knows about it. Everyone in the world knows about it. So we also really need to be able to differentiate between opinions and facts. I think that's another really big issue right now, is people are like, oh, well, they said that, so it's true. Like, no, they said it because it's their opinion, but that doesn't mean that it's actually true. It just means that's what they believe. And people these days have very much been muddling belief with fact. And they think if you feel strongly enough about it, it must be a fact. But that's not how facts work. A fact is something that has been tested and shown to be reliably the same.
You just know you're there.
And us saying we believe a certain thing, it's not a fact. It's just an opinion. And we also need to start not only understanding our sources, but understanding what is actually like applicable within that as fact and as evidence versus someone just said this because they felt that way.
And on that note, you guys form your own opinion on what you got from this. I know we ain't the first ones. I know we ain't gonna be the last ones. I know this ain't gonna be the only time that Ice Cube situation is brought up. But make sure you know before you do anything further. I appreciate you for pulling up this morning, especially seeing as how the morning time is a little different. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got nothing else to add to it. As far as I'm concerned, we got to do better. I thought you were going to say something, so I stopped myself.
I just have a little quip that my teacher said that I always love to remember. Research before you repost. And that's what I want to add.
All right. Well, look, man, I'm going to let you off here. Hope you enjoy the rest of the day. I will see you later on, Lord willing. To the people who pulled up for the stream, I thank you for hanging out with us. If I don't see you later, enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going back into the laboratory. The work never ends. Yeah. It look like we're about to get some rain, so fingers crossed. And I will see you guys later. Do me a solid before you go.
What's the goddamn button?
Here.
Peace.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, brisket, mammy rip